Oakley. Night.
Ein Blitzer kommt! Ein Blitzer kommt!
Jim?
Jim, don't do it!
Halt! Er ist nicht bewaffnet! Nein, Otto!
Jim!
My name is Jim.
Mein Name ist Otto.
Pleased to meet you, Otto.
Freut mich.
Rose, she's called.
Ist schön. Ist schön. Danke. Happy Christmas. Frohe Weihnachten.
Pretty amazing spot from the UK a few years ago, Don.
That's 2014. I've never seen it, as you know, until this week. It's fantastic. Obviously, great relative to 2020. And one of the big things we've preached over the last few weeks is about collaboration, which is an interesting thing during wartime, but fantastic spot.
I think also a sober reminder of all of us that World War I, over 20 million people died. And so we need to, as horrific as things are right now, we need to put things in perspective.
I couldn't say it better. Absolutely. Perspective's everything. And at least in 2021, we can see the end in sight, even though right now we're probably going through further lockdowns, whatever that may mean, because we're already locked down. But there's at least hope in 2021. So I look forward to today's discussion where we talk about the future, not the past.
So let's kick things off with Weekly Pulse, and love some intel from what the folks at IMI have to share with the world today.
So we talked to over 100,000 people in the past 6 weeks, actually in the last 3 weeks, to see what are they looking forward to in 2021. Let's dust 2020. And a lot of people are asking about, are people still going to want to travel? Is still people want to do things? And the fact is, they can't wait to do it. So you see what people are looking forward to, seeing family. Not necessarily the family they live with every second. They've probably seen enough of them, but the relationships are better. But seeing family, but if you look at it, traveling, getting out there, not just to Timmins or to Toledo, but actually traveling, seeing friends. Everyone thinks they see friends in Zoom and I've heard a lot of conversation about the fact is, well, now we're a virtual universe. No, we're not. People want live physical contact. If you look at those top 10 things, every single one of them is about touching, feeling people, which is what people want. So the people that have conflict, or the organizations that have conflict, that they say everything's virtual. Well, yeah, there are more online virtual things happening. However, there is going to be a crescendo of live and desire for live once things open up, which is fantastic. Let's move to the next thing.
What do you have against Timmins?
The Bukovetsky family's from Timmins, and it's
all right, done, sold.
It's cold in here.
You have me at Bukovetsky.
Want to go further into traveling? So people are interested. We really deal with a lot of travel parties, but in general, where do people want to travel to? So if we go to show the next thing on travel, and it's coming shortly, you can see Hawaii, Italy, Australia. It is the exact same list as 20 years ago. The fact is, things haven't changed. Spain and Ireland are new. We got Spain, Ireland, Greece, New York. It's not traveling interstate, interprovince. It's actually traveling and experiencing life. So those people that have been crushed, we think our business is tough. Well, try and be an airline. Try and be a hotel. And the fact is, people are looking to get out and explore. So how can brands bring that to people? How can we actually fulfill people's dreams? Maybe not be spring 2021. You can run a campaign in 2021 that talks about fall or winter of 2022. So anyway, there's some good information in there. Anywhere you want to go, Mark?
Listen, I don't mean to look. I would go anywhere right now, Timmins and Toledo included. And, I think that, look, I've been to Hawaii, but honestly, I think if I could go anywhere right at this very moment, been to Murren, Switzerland, been there in the winter, been there in the summer, been there with my family, been there with my wife. It's a car-free village. I got to take 2 trains and a funicular to get up to it. It's actually about the site of Mount Stickthorn, where they filmed a James Bond movie, the one with the one guy who was the guy who only did one Bond. Now I can't remember which one it was. He was horrible. I think it was in Her Majesty's service. So anyway, there's a plug for Murren, Switzerland, Hotel Eiger, and I'm not a paid endorser or an influencer, despite my 3 TikTok followers.
And the last thing about the pulse that we're going to look at is, while we have vaccines, very few in Canada, very few in the US, they're going to be coming. The point is, just because they're here, our next challenge is going to be getting people to take it. And the reality is, in Canada, we ask this Canada, US, UK. In the UK, the Queen is the #1 endorser, where 50% of the people would be encouraged if the Queen endorsed, not even endorsed the vaccine. In Canada, we did a quick snippet, but you look at the NHL, 41%, phenomenal percentage, that if that group gets together and you see the CFL in there, the NFL and the NBA, sports is a big factor. If high-performing athletes go in and endorse it, it's going to help. As well, the Prime Minister and your Premier. Interesting to see CBC, CTV, Globe and Mail, obviously well-respected, but interesting to see sports is ahead of the Prime Minister, which warms my heart personally.
I know it does, but come on, like #1.
So go talk to 10,000 Canadians and see who they actually respect more.
I know the numbers don't lie, but yeah, it's like I was a horrible hockey player. I was a goalie, and I had a 5-hole about the size of your dressing room, and so maybe it's just because I suck so badly at hockey. But
were you better at hockey or golf?
I think I'm a little better golfer.
Oh my God, you were a bad goalie. You were a terrible goalie.
So, I mean, keep going, keep talking about this, because this to me is an interesting thing. I mean, I'm sure it's different in the States.
Totally different. Surgeon General, CDC, WHO, Biden, 25% if Trump took it. Very, very, very positive. The fact is, you got to remember, even though people in Canada are elated that Trump lost, both Biden and Trump can do some social work to get people behind it. We need people we don't only need to have the vaccine, but up to 4 in 10 won't take it. So that's the new reality. So there's a whole bunch of things that will come from that.
But Pence took it overnight, right?
Pence did, his wife did, Surgeon General did on CNN, which is fantastic. That's a public service. He didn't need to do that. Trump won't even say he lost the election. And Pence is out there doing something that's good for the U.S., actually serving and doing his job, which is great to say, independent of how you feel towards him.
Well, it's interesting. This morning I had a meeting with a guy from New York, and his mom is a pediatrician. So she's getting vaccinated next week. If you think about it, would you want to send your child to a healthcare professional that wasn't vaccinated? Probably not. Yet people are willing in the States to walk into a store. We're going to talk a little bit more about events, and I've got some theories around vaccines. But today, you and I are going to spend the bulk of our time making some predictions that around 2021, and we're going to test each other's predictions. But as we're trying to think about how to wrap up 2020, and kudos to you for coming up with this idea for the show, and we'll be back. By the way, this is our last show of 2020. I have to have a tip of the hat to Public Inc. and Phil Haid, and they I think have nailed a wrap up to 2020. Should we have a quick look at this, Don? Because I think this really just sums up how we all feel about 2020. Kudos to Public Inc. and Phil Haid.
As we wrap up this year and head into the next, we invite you to give a big fuck you to 2020.
But not just any fuck you, a fuck you for a cause. Let's start with a giant fuck you, COVID-19.
Fuck you for taking my job. Sorry, furloughing my job.
Furloughing? Fuck you.
Fuck you for closing his school.
Yeah, fuck you.
Fuck you for canceling our wedding.
Fuck you to the toilet paper hoarders.
Fuck you to all the people in 2020 who said all lives matter.
All lives will fucking matter when Black lives fucking matter.
Fuck you, Derek Chauvin.
And a double fuck you to the killers of Breonna Taylor.
Arrest those fuckers. Speaking of murderers, fuck you, murder hornets.
Murder what?
Murder hornets.
That's a thing?
I've had it with these motherfucking Zoom calls on this motherfucking computer.
Fuck you, New Zealand. You think you're better than us? Well, you are, but fuck you anyway. I don't care who you voted for. Fuck this guy.
Fuck you, Karen.
Fuck you, Karen.
Fuck you, Karen.
2020.
Fuck you.
Fuck you for taking RBG.
And Kobe. And John Lewis.
Fuck you for taking my grandmother. 2020? Fuck you!
Relevant, compelling, different.
Brilliant, like beyond relevant, compelling, different. I think it surmises 7 billion people's thoughts on this planet. Sorry, 30% think there's no issue. So anyone that doesn't think there's an issue, which just blows my mind, absolutely, that is fantastic. It makes me smile. It made me laugh many, many times. It's fantastic.
Kudos to Phil in public. I do have to make a public service announcement about my wife. She's sick and tired of everybody saying that every Karen in the world is bad. When she orders something on the phone, she wants to have a fake name. She needs like a Starbucks name now. So to all of you Karens out there, I apologize. So Don, let's talk about 2021. You and I have some predictions to share. If you're out there watching, feel free to throw some commentary up in the chat. I want to hear your first prediction.
First prediction is social unrest will accelerate in the U.S., not due to Black Lives Matter, but due to a security guard at a store trying to keep people out in Kentucky from entering without a valid proof of vaccination. The fact is, the U.S., whatever you might say, they do stand for freedom, even though they incarcerate 25% of the world's population or inmates. The fact is, getting people to endorse the vaccine, getting people to take the vaccine, that's half the battle. I feel so sorry for that frontline person at AT&T Stadium trying to prevent someone to get in there if vaccinations are necessary. So it's going to be a long road ahead. The social unrest will continue to change, not diminishing food insecurity and social unrest and racism and police brutality and those other things. But the fact is the vaccine is a savior, but man, it's going to cause some issues.
Yeah, so let's think about it this in simple terms. People in the States were already being murdered over, people working at stores, asking people to wear masks. Going forward, we've heard Qantas Airlines talk about a vaccine passport. We've heard the government of Ontario talk about the need to have proof of vaccine. I, for one, as a visible minority, as a segment of the population that is more susceptible to worse effects from coronavirus, I don't know if I want to go to a Pittsburgh Steelers game and sit next to some guy who's hacking all over me who potentially has not taken the vaccine. That's the social unrest we're about to face.
100%. And the reality is, if we look at it, 30% of U.S. and Canadian citizens don't think there's an issue today. Just think about that. 3 in 10 million people. Even though 80% have a personal health concern, if you look at overall, they go, there's no issue. It's like, I don't know where their head is, but it's certainly not on top of their head. And the fact is, as you just said, is people aren't going to want to sit beside each other. People going into hospitals. Why would a hospital worker want to see someone who has not been vaccinated? Like, there's so many different potential unrest that it's going to be.
So my fuck you to everybody who doesn't want to take a vaccine is fuck you if you don't want to take a vaccine. We have to shut this down. Fuck you if you don't want to take a vaccine and be able to go to a sporting event. I think that should be the litmus. I was brainstorming with somebody the other day at an event. We were talking about, could you actually have a vaccinated section and a non-vaccinated section, like we have family sections without booze? But I don't get it. Why, these people want to get out of their masks. And I get that there's the anti-vaxxers out there, but I think we gotta borrow. I might say fuck you 25 more times in this show today.
Yeah, there's an issue though. There's going to be some health concerns. The allergies that they showed with Pfizer, with the anaphylactic reaction. The point is, there's going to be people that will not be able to take it. But that's just going to be an excuse. The fact is, we as a society need to bond together once again and go, there's not an option here. You're not getting on a plane. You're not going to an event. You're not going in a store. And that's a way that people are actually going to have to identify, because I don't want someone killing my parents.
No. So I'm going to jump in now. And look, the whole point of predictions is to predict things. You can predict what you think is going to happen. You can predict what you think could happen. The Olympics getting postponed this year was unprecedented. We've had Olympics canceled due to war. We've had Olympics, obviously, with boycotts where half the world didn't come. Think of 1980 and 1984. But, the whole concept was to move the Tokyo Olympics out a year. With vaccines coming, I think that somebody has to sit down and do the math and say, think of the cost of running Olympics, the cost of then postponing Olympics. I get it from an athlete training and everything. I might be absolutely dreaming. But to me, I think there's a chance that there's people thinking about how do we delay the Olympics to ensure that enough people do get vaccinated. Back to your prediction, number one, because there is so much economic impact from having foreign travelers, tourists, hosts, corporations. You and I had a quick chat about this the other day. What do you think? Am I crazy?
You're not crazy. It's just the fact is going to be either athletes only, or unless the vaccines become miraculously available. I don't know how 170 countries, worried about Canada, who's in the G7 or G8 or G20, we'll get our vaccines far before some African countries will. And who's going to go there? Like, the fact is, it's going to be athletes only, or I don't understand how they're going to have a July date. But
okay. So everything that I'm hearing, it's going to be very secluded. We're not going to have the typical hosting, but just bear with me for a second. I know I'm going to sound a bit commercial in a sec here. I'm going to sound a bit crash. But how about the ultimate travel bundle? Flight, hotel, game tickets. You can come to Sponsorship X and hear Don and Mark babble on, all bundled up with a vaccine shot. So you know what? Just make it part of the whole tourist package.
That would be. I think Sponsorship X would go way up, and people might not even show up in Japan. The fact is, something's going to happen. It's good news. We can't rush it, but we have to rush it, because if we don't move it, so I think that prediction. Man, money talks, and you think about the Olympic sponsors, the billions and billions of dollars. I think it's honestly going to come down to commercialism. If they can get the sponsors to pay for it and get all that money in, the chances are it's going to go on schedule. The reality is, I don't know how much the fan ticket base is. Japan wants tourism. They want profile, and it'll be a totally different thing.
And this was about bringing back not only the Japanese economy, but also its world stature, its spirit. And this was really meant to be a morale booster. I was there. I'm trying to actually do the math in my head. I guess it was a year ago, June 2019, which feels like 7 years in COVID fuck you years. Amazing place. I know that you're pretty convinced that we are going to be paying for the coronavirus debt for the rest of our lives? Talk to me.
Oh, past our lives, Mark. We're old. Our kids are already on this bill. The fact is, I believe that there's going to be a few countries, no different than Ireland did back in the early 2000s with the Celtic Tiger. They lowered taxes, and all of a sudden they had their first boon ever. Like they never had prosperity. The Canadian government is not bright enough to realize if we raise taxes and eliminate capital gains and have inheritance taxes and all that stuff, the top of the top from not only a education standpoint, an earning standpoint, an entrepreneurial standpoint, they have options. The people that don't have options are the people that work at Walmart. They don't have the options other people do. And unfortunately, the wealthier you are, the more options you have. I think if we make taxes not comparable to the rest of the world, become a social network that takes even taxes more. Like we're already overtaxed, but we have to pay it back. And the reality is, if the government institutes programs federally, provincially, or municipally, we are going to lose the best of the best. And we're already losing them anyway, because we do tax too much. And guess where they're going to go? To the hated South. And the fact is, it's an easy transfer if they let them in.
Well, you know, we've lost our single biggest competitive advantage of being Canadian. You know what that was?
Toronto Maple Leafs?
Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump did more to make Canada attractive. The last few years, our Canadian universities made huge profit. We've looked great. You got Trump there. You got Brexit here. You got Russia killing people off. You got Belarus killing off political opponents. You got China locking people up. We've looked pretty good. Here's a question for you. Why don't we just wipe it out? Why don't we just wipe out the debt? Just cross it off, print paper, just say screw it. Like it's only owing the money to ourselves.
Yeah, but someone's bought those bonds. They want their money back. The fact is you can't just print money. I mean, anyone who studies inflation, anyone who has an economics 101 degree means that everything will go down. So
well, I took political science, okay? So I didn't take economics 101. And by the way, economics 101 is not a degree. It'd probably be like one class. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Maybe at the University of Saskatoon where you went, it was, but economics 101 is not a full degree.
I'm talking about the simplicity of the fact of inflationary facts. If the whole world did something, who's going to pay it back? They have to write it off. But we own the company. We own Canada. There's no separate entity. The fact is, we can't do that. The only way we can do it is hyperinflation. We need inflation to go to 18 points, 20 points, from a 1% 5-year mortgage to 18%. That will wipe it out in 5 years. So,
yeah. What was the interest rate on mortgage on your first house?
12.8%.
So mine was 11.75%. For the children in the audience, that means for every $100,000, you paid $11,750 a year in interest. And the guy I bought my house from was paying 22 points. He was paying $22,000 a year. I paid $300,000 for my house, and his mortgage was $350,000. So he literally didn't even sell me his entire house. He sold me a portion of his debt. Hyperinflation. Thank you very much, Don. For anybody who had any dream of owning a freaking house in Toronto, Mayo's saying no. He got here before you. It's going to be expensive. So this is my next prediction, which some people are going to say is biased, but I do not. I think that assuming the vaccines work, we get the distribution. I think once we get to 20 to 25% of population, that lockdowns, et cetera, are no longer going to be able to happen. I think events are going to have their best year ever next year.
I would say that that's early. I would say the fact is they're going to have their best years, I believe. Regardless of the COVID, it was going that way anyway. Even though there's more technology.
Why do you think it's early?
Because I don't think the vaccine is going to be, we're not going to have herd immunity to allow people to travel freely until at least fall of 2021. I think 2022 to 2024 are going to be live like we've never seen it before. I think the pendulum is going to swing so much that
I'm planting my July 1st tax-laden Canadian flag into the ground on my tax-laden Canada Day, for the record. I have spent 30 years telling people the value of live. I think every brand and company is going to realize it. I go back to, I think we're going to get to a place of 20 to 30% vaccinated, and there will not be the political currency to keep us locked down.
Once there's restrictions lifted, doesn't matter. they're going live. So, Mark, you're going to be right. The fact is, once the restrictions are lifted, it's a free-for-all, and live will be like we've never seen it before. I'm hoping it's July 1st. That'd be fantastic. That'd be the fantastic news.
So let's go anti-Canada now and talk about Amazon.
I don't think it's anti-Canada. If you look at none of it, they were giving Amazon accolades because they actually ship stuff quicker and half the price of Canada Post. The point is that Amazon is supporting remote communities in Canada, providing exceptional experiences, being far better, far more competitive than anyone else. It's not because I love Amazon. It's because I love the fact they went 5 years putting every cent back into the customer experience to make it better. The fact that we hate their success, we should actually celebrate how committed they were to be dominant. And they weren't dominant 10 years ago, but to put there's very few business people who put every cent back and make no money to make sure that they're looking at drones 5 years ago. Same day delivery, unheard of. Like you'd go, there's no chance you can do that. The fact they go into northern Canadian communities and deliver half price stuff direct from Amazon faster than anyone, they're gonna love them forever, and they deserve to be loved. So we can hate them, just because they're in America doesn't matter. Let's celebrate great products and services, and let's get Canadians to develop those great products and services. And how do we do that? By not taxing the shit out of us.
What's your feeling on the not Amazon unit movement? Now I just forgot her name. 27-year-old woman bought the URL not Amazon for $2.99, and now has all sorts of local companies selling through not Amazon.
They're good. Unfortunately, it's going to be the people that have a bad customer interface, bad product, charge too much money. They are making sure that we are getting fair money. It's a customer service. They're actually lowering the price of things and increasing the service. Like, how you fight against that is different. Facebook, who lies about how many ads are served and their productivity multiple times and does not have a class action, they skate and their stocks keep going up. Amazon is actually doing something useful.
So speaking of someone who does something useful, this is not actually a prediction. This is poking the bear. I just threw this out there to see what reaction I could get out of it, because I know you love JT and you want to hug him.
JT is a very huggable person. I just don't think he's proven to be competent to lead a country. So snap election, it doesn't matter. It's a ball of shit. Doesn't matter what party you go into of the two. The third one I'd like to stay away from because they'll even tax more. We got to reward productivity. We got to reward innovation. We got to reward entrepreneurship, because those are the people that pay tax bills. With all due respect to public servants, they're being paid by people making money. There wouldn't be any need unless there's people paying money. So
don't even get me started on public servants not taking pay cuts and etc.
So the reality is, snap election or not, everyone's got the same bag of shit. Does not matter. Right now, the political party matters less than anything.
Okay, listen, I just want to say safe and happy holidays to everybody. I'm speaking loudly because I don't know how to shut the ringer off on my phone. Our producers right now are cursing me. Safe holidays, Don. Before we go, I know we're going to close with a great spot from the U.S., but I'm going to give you the last word on 2020.
Happy holidays to all. Good news coming, optimism, hope. Let's get through this next month of shit, and it'll be clear sailing after that. Have a great day.
Happy.